I never expected to find the letter that would destroy my engagement while organizing our home office. It was just another Sunday morning, and I was trying to clear the mess of papers that always seemed to multiply on Evan's desk. My name is Marlo, and until that moment, I thought I was living the kind of life people dream about. The envelope caught my eye because of its lavender color and expensive paper stock, the kind we use at the furniture showroom for our most prestigious clients. It was already opened, tucked between some bills and junk mail. I probably wouldn't have read it if the first line hadn't jumped out at me. Last night was unforgettable. My hands started shaking as I read further. The letter was signed "Forever Yours, Diana," with a phone number written in elegant handwriting at the bottom. The date showed it was from just last week. "Hey babe, what are you up to?" Evan's voice made me jump. He was leaning against the doorframe, coffee mug in hand, wearing the designer sweater I'd given him for Christmas. His casual smile faltered when he saw what I was holding. "Who's Diana?" I asked, proud of how steady my voice sounded despite the hurricane brewing in my chest. "Oh, that." He walked over, trying to take the letter from my hands. "Just a colleague from work. She's overly formal with her thank you notes. We had a successful client meeting, that's all." I pulled the letter away from his reach. Client meetings don't usually end with "Forever Yours." "Come on, Marlo, you're reading too much into this." He laughed, but it sounded hollow. "Diana's just enthusiastic about networking. You know how people in tech can be." The way he said her name, soft, familiar, made my stomach turn. I'd heard that tone before, back when he used to say my name that way. "Right," I said, carefully folding the letter and sliding it into my pocket. "Just networking." "Exactly." He smiled, relieved. "Now, weren't we supposed to meet my parents for brunch? Mom's been talking about wedding venues all week." I watched him leave the room, whistling as if nothing had happened. But something had shifted, like a crack appearing in a perfect piece of crystal. As I stood there, surrounded by the life we'd built together, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd just glimpsed the truth behind a carefully constructed lie. And the worst part, deep down, I wasn't even surprised. The brunch with Evan's parents felt like a performance where everyone knew their lines except me. Barbara Carter's pristine dining room, with its crystal chandelier and antique china, seemed to mock my churning stomach. The letter from Diana felt like it was burning a hole in my pocket. "Marlo, darling," Barbara said, cutting into her eggs Benedict, "I heard the showroom's numbers are exceptional this quarter. You must be doing wonderfully." I forced a smile, noting how she hadn't asked about me, just my sales figures. "Business is good. Perfect timing, with the wedding coming up," she continued, her perfectly manicured hands gesturing enthusiastically. "Richard and I were just discussing how fortunate Evan is to have found someone so established." Richard nodded without looking up from his newspaper. The way he avoided confrontation reminded me of Evan's behavior this morning. "Speaking of the wedding," Barbara leaned forward, her voice dropping conspiratorially, "I've been thinking about the venue. The country club would be perfect, though their membership fees have become rather steep lately." Evan perked up. "Actually, Mom, Marlo and I were thinking of something smaller." "Nonsense," Barbara cut him off. "You can't have a small wedding, not with Marlo's position. All those important clients she could invite. Richard, tell them about the networking opportunities." I watched Evan's face as his mother spoke. There was no surprise there, no discomfort at her blatant attempt to use my professional connections. Instead, he looked calculating. "The country club would be lovely," he agreed, squeezing my hand under the table. The gesture that once brought comfort now made my skin crawl. "And Marlo, dear," Barbara continued, "about the down payment for the new house you and Evan are considering. Richard and I thought perhaps you could handle that portion, since Evan's startup is still in its early stages." The pieces suddenly clicked into place. The lavender letter, the mysterious Diana, Evan's endless networking events. Was I just another business opportunity to this family? Actually, I heard myself say, "I'm not feeling well. I should probably head home." "But we haven't discussed the guest list," Barbara protested. "Another time," I managed, standing up. Evan moved to follow me, but I shook my head. "Stay, finish brunch with your parents. We can talk later." As I drove away, I called Chloe. My best friend picked up on the first ring. "Hey," I said, my voice shaking. "Remember when you said something felt off about Evan and his family? I think you were right. Can we meet?" "I'll be at our spot in 20 minutes, she replied without hesitation. "And Marlo? Whatever it is, we'll figure it out together." Chloe was already waiting at our favorite coffee shop when I arrived, her usual confident smile replaced with something more hesitant. She didn't hug me like usual, and that's when I knew whatever she had to tell me was bad. "I need to show you something," she said, pulling out her phone. "I found it last night, and I've been debating whether to tell you." My coffee sat untouched as she pulled up a dating app. There he was, Evan's face smiling back at me from a profile that listed him as single and looking to connect. The profile was active, updated just 2 days ago. "There's more," Chloe said quietly, scrolling through messages. "He's been meeting people. Multiple people." The world seemed to tilt sideways. I remembered Barbara's words from brunch about networking opportunities and connections. "How long has this been up?" 3 months. Chloe reached for my hand. Around the time his startup got that first round of funding, my phone buzzed. Another text from Evan asking if I was feeling better. The concern in his message made me want to throw up. "I should have seen it," I said, my voice hollow. The late meetings, the networking events, how he always seemed to have just enough money for expensive restaurants, but never enough for bills. "This isn't your fault," Chloe insisted. "Look at these messages. He's been telling women he's a successful tech CEO, promising to invest in their businesses." I thought about Diana's letter, about Barbara's fixation on my client list, about all the times Evan had asked casual questions about my high-end customers. "He's been using me," I realized, the words tasting bitter. "They all have. I'm just their ticket to the life they think they deserve." My phone buzzed again. This time it was Barbara. "Darling, about the country club membership, perhaps we could discuss how to structure the payments?" Something snapped inside me. I grabbed my phone and started typing. "What are you doing?" Chloe asked, leaning forward. "Setting up a meeting with my boss, Sophia," I replied, my fingers moving fast. She mentioned something odd about Evan trying to contact our clients directly. "I think it's time I found out exactly what he's been up to." "Marlo," Chloe's voice was careful. "What are you planning?" I looked up from my phone, feeling strangely calm. "They wanted to use my connections? Fine. Let's see how well that works out for them." "You're scary when you're plotting," Chloe said, but she was smiling now. "Need backup?" "Always." I finally took a sip of my cold coffee. "But first, I need to make a few calls." Starting with the country club where Barbara's been bragging about her son, the successful CEO. Sophia's office always felt like a sanctuary, with its clean lines and carefully curated furniture displays. Today, though, it felt like an interrogation room as she closed the door behind us. "I've been waiting for you to come talk to me," she said, settling behind her desk. "There's something you need to know about Evan's recent activities." My stomach dropped. "He's been contacting our clients, hasn't he?" "Worse." Sophia pulled out a folder. "He's been representing himself as a partner in our business. 3 of our high-end clients received investment proposals from him last month. He's been using your name, your reputation, to legitimize his schemes." The room seemed to spin. I thought about Diana's letter, the dating app profile, and now this. How bad is it? One client almost transferred $50,000 to his startup before our legal team caught wind of it. Sophia's voice was gentle but firm. "Marlo, I didn't just call you in here as your boss. I'm telling you this as someone who cares about you. This isn't just about a cheating fiancé anymore. He's committing fraud." My phone buzzed. A text from Barbara. "Darling, Evan mentioned you're feeling under the weather. Should we postpone the meeting with the wedding planner tomorrow?" Another buzz. This time from Evan. "Hey babe, can you send me the contact info for the Hendersons? They mentioned wanting to invest in some promising startups. The Hendersons were my biggest clients. I need to see those investment proposals," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. Sophia handed me the folder. "Our legal team is preparing to send him a cease and desist letter. But given your relationship—" "No," I interrupted, scanning the documents. "Don't send it yet." "Marlo." I looked up, something cold and clear crystallizing in my chest. "The Carters are hosting a charity gala next weekend. Barbara's been bragging about it for months. All their social circle will be there, including half our client list. What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking it's time everyone saw exactly who Evan Carter really is." I stood up, gathering the papers. "But I need your help, Sophia. And probably a lawyer." She studied me for a moment, then nodded. "Il est legal." "But Marlo? Whatever you're planning, be careful. Men like Evan, they don't react well to being exposed." "I know," I said, thinking of all the times I'd watched him charm his way out of trouble. "That's counting on." My phone buzzed again. Barbara, sending details about the gala's seating arrangement. I smiled as I typed my response. "Don't worry about the wedding planner. I'll be at the gala. Wouldn't miss it for the world." "You're going to need somewhere to stay after the gala," Chloe said, scrolling through apartment listings on her laptop. We were sitting in my home office, the same room where I'd found Diana's letter just days ago. Once you expose him at the party, there's no going back. I was packing files into boxes, carefully separating my personal documents from anything connected to Evan. I found a furnished short-term rental downtown. Already put down the deposit. That was fast. Chloe looked up, concerned. Are you sure you're ready for this? Before I could answer, my phone lit up with a text from Diana herself. We need to talk. About Evan. It's important. My hands shook as I showed Chloe the message. Think she knows about the fraud? Only one way to find out. Chloe closed her laptop. Want backup? I agreed to meet Diana at a small cafe across town. She was already there when we arrived, nervously shredding a napkin. She looked younger than I expected, barely out of college. I didn't know he was engaged, she blurted out as soon as we sat down. He said he was single, that he was going to invest in my startup. I believed him until I saw your photo on his desk last week. How much did he take from you? I asked quietly. 20,000. Her voice cracked. My entire savings. He said it was just the initial investment, that he'd triple it within months. When I asked for paperwork last week, he stopped answering my calls. I pulled out my phone, showing her the investment proposals Sophia had given me. You're not the only one. He's been doing this to others, using my name and company connections to make it look legitimate. Diana's face went pale. There are more of us? At least 3 that we know of. I hesitated, then made a decision. There's going to be a charity gala next weekend. Every potential investor Evan's been targeting will be there. So will the police. You're going to expose him? Diana's eyes widened. He'll never forgive you. That's the point. I handed her my card. Call this number tomorrow. It's for the detective handling the case. They'll need your statement. After Diana left, Chloe squeezed my hand. You okay? I watched Diana's retreating figure through the window. I kept thinking this was just about me, about revenge. But it's bigger than that now. He's destroying people's lives, and his parents are helping him do it. My phone buzzed again. Evan asking where I was. For the first time since this began, I felt no pain when I saw his name, only determination. Let's go pack up the rest of my things, I said, standing up. The gala's in 3 days, and I need to make sure everything's perfect. Perfect for what? Chloe asked, though her smile suggested she already knew. Perfect for when I tear their whole world apart. The charity gala was in full swing when everything fell apart. I'd spent the evening watching Evan work the room, charming potential investors with practiced ease. Barbara kept parading me around like a prize horse, bragging about my success to anyone who would listen. The irony wasn't lost on me. Then Diana showed up. I hadn't invited her. She wasn't supposed to be here. But there she was, tears streaming down her face, confronting Evan in front of everyone. You stole my entire savings. Her voice carried across the ballroom. You promised to invest it, but you just took it all. Evan's charm didn't falter. I think you've had too much to drink. Security. Don't you dare. I stepped between them, my carefully laid plans crumbling. Tell them the truth, Evan. Tell them about all the women you've scammed, about using my name to steal their money. The room went silent. Barbara appeared at Evan's side, her social smile fixed in place. Marlo, darling, perhaps we should discuss this privately. No more privacy, I said, pulling out my phone. No more secrets. I started playing the recording of Evan's conversation with another victim, his promises of investment returns echoing through the stunned crowd. But Evan just laughed. You want to talk about secrets? He turned to address the room. My fiancé here has been gathering evidence against me for weeks. She's been working with the police, wearing a wire, betraying my trust. And why? Because she's jealous of my success. The crowd murmured. I saw uncertainty in their faces, saw them looking at me with suspicion. She's the one who handles all our finances, Evan continued smoothly. Any irregular transactions came through her accounts. I trusted her completely, my mistake. Barbara placed a sympathetic hand on his shoulder. We all did, dear. We all did. Security was approaching now, but they weren't looking at Evan. They were looking at me. Check his accounts, I insisted, my voice cracking. Look at the evidence. The evidence you collected illegally? Evan asked softly. While living in my home, accessing my private files. My lawyer will have fun with that. I turned to the crowd, searching for sympathetic faces. But all I saw was judgment and disbelief. These were Evan's people, his social circle. They'd watched him grow up, attended his parents' parties. Who was I but an outsider? As security escorted me out, I caught a glimpse of Barbara comforting Diana, who was now sobbing apologies to Evan. Somehow, he'd turned even her against me. My phone buzzed, a text from Chloe. "Don't panic. Sophia's calling the detective. We have backup plans." But watching Evan through the glass doors, accepting sympathetic pats on the back, I realized something chilling. He'd known. He'd known all along, and he'd let me think I was the one in control. I'd never felt more alone. I was packing the last of my things when Barbara burst into the apartment, Richard trailing behind her like a shadow. The look on her face told me Evan had already called them. "You ungrateful little witch," Barbara spat. "After everything we've done for you." I continued folding my clothes, keeping my movements deliberate and calm. "Everything you've done for me? Or everything you expected me to do for you? We welcomed you into our family." Barbara's voice cracked with desperation. "We trusted you with our son's future." "Your son's future?" I turned to face her. "You mean your retirement plan? Your social status? Your country club membership?" Richard stepped forward, his usual passive demeanor slipping. "The police called. They're looking into the company accounts." "Good." I pulled out my phone, showing them the screen. Because while Evan was busy turning everyone against me at the gala, my boss was meeting with the FBI. Turns out they're very interested in wire fraud across state lines. Barbara's face went pale. "You're bluffing. Check your accounts," I said quietly. "The ones you thought I didn't know about. The offshore transfers, the shell companies. Did you really think I wouldn't notice when you started moving money right after I found Diana's letter?" Richard grabbed Barbara's arm. "We should go." "Wait." Barbara's voice changed, becoming honey-sweet. "Marlo, darling, we can fix this. Whatever Evan's done, we can make it right. You're still family." I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. "Family? You raised a con man and helped him target vulnerable women. You knew what he was doing and you encouraged it. The only difference between you and him is that he's better at hiding it." My phone buzzed, Sophia sending confirmation that the FBI had everything they needed. Barbara must have seen something change in my expression because she lunged for my phone. I stepped back, watching her stumble. "It's over," I said. "The evidence is already with the authorities. And this time your social connections won't save you." "You'll regret this," Barbara hissed, but her hands were shaking. "No one will believe you over us." "They already do." I opened the door. "Now get out of my apartment before I call security." Again. As they left, Richard paused. "We really did think you were different," he said softly. "I am different," I replied. "That's why I'm the one walking away clean." I closed the door on their retreating figures, listening to Barbara's heels click down the hallway. My phone buzzed again, Chloe this time. "Police just picked up Evan. You okay?" I looked around at the half-packed boxes, at the life I was leaving behind, and felt something I hadn't expected. Peace. "Yes," I typed back. "I really am." 6 months later, my new apartment finally feels like home. The morning sun streams through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the carefully curated furniture pieces I've selected. Not for their price tags or social status, but because they speak to me. The news alert pops up on my phone. Tech entrepreneur Evan Carter pleads guilty in multi-state investment fraud case. I don't need to read it. I already know Barbara and Richard took plea deals last month. Earth to Marlo. Sophia calls from my kitchen island, spreading out design samples. These client presentations won't review themselves. After everything happened, Sophia didn't just keep me on, she promoted me to partner. Turns out exposing fraud looks pretty good on a resume. My doorbell rings. It's Chloe, carrying coffee and a familiar-looking envelope. "This came to the old apartment," she says, handing me the lavender-colored paper. "Thought you should see it. It's from Diana." My hands don't shake as I open it. "Dear Marlo," it reads. "The FBI returned my money yesterday. All of it. But that's not why I'm writing. I'm starting my own business, for real this time. No shortcuts, no charming investors, just hard work. I learned that from you. Thank you for showing me what real strength looks like." "You okay?" Chloe asks, watching my face. "Yeah," I say and mean it. Just thinking about how different everything looked a few months ago. "Speaking of different looks," Sophia interjects, "your ex-future mother-in-law was photographed leaving court yesterday. Orange jumpsuit. Not her best color. We all laugh, but there's no bitterness in it. The revenge I thought I wanted turned out to be something else entirely. Not destruction, but reconstruction. Building something new from the ashes of what was lost." My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. "Richard. Barbara's asking about visiting rights. Evan too. I told them it's too soon. Some bridges can't be rebuilt. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner." I don't respond. Some messages don't need answers. Ready for the client meeting? Sophia asks, gathering her things. Actually, I say, I've been thinking about starting my own line. Furniture designed for people building their lives from scratch. New beginnings, you know? Chloe grins. Now that sounds like the Marlowe I know. As we head out, I catch my reflection in the window, strong, confident, unburdened. The woman staring back at me isn't defined by what she survived, but by what she's building. And this time, I'm building it on my own terms. The engagement ring I never returned sits in my desk drawer, a reminder not of what I lost, but of what I found, my own voice, my own strength, and the power of choosing myself. Some might call it revenge. I call it freedom.